Fellas, the apocalypse is coming. People are taking to the streets rioting, and the reason for all that chaos is because, well, TikTok is getting banned, or at least it might be getting banned in the next little while. Now, a moment of silence for all the TikTokers' careers that are gonna be ruined from this. Rest in peace to all your souls. I hope you enjoy the food banks and damnation to hell or something. The reason it's getting banned is a little weird, to be honest. Well, I guess it's not that weird. I guess national fucking security isn't that weird, but the US government is mostly concerned about ByteDance and their affiliation with China. Basically, they gave the ultimatum that ByteDance has 6 months to sell its share in TikTok, or they are just gonna block the site entirely from American consumers. Obviously, I'm not gonna get political on this. I don't fucking care. But I mostly want to talk about the hypothetical world without TikTok. In other words, every white girl's nightmare. If TikTok gets banned, would that really be a bad thing? The only people that I think would actually lose out on it is the people that have made their careers out of TikTok. And to be honest, even those people, they have other avenues that they can pursue. It's not really like it's a case that they have nowhere to go. It's social media. It's 2024, man. You could probably make a living going on Reddit or something like that. Or even 4chan if you wanted to get that degenerate. Even Charli D'Amelio, TikTok's fucking spokesperson, she doesn't really care that much. I mean, in one interview when she was asked about it, she says, "You have to remember that social media comes and goes. There's new apps, there's new people, there's exciting new trends. You don't always get to be first in line for everything." That's not to say all of them, though, aren't angry or, you know, scared that TikTok's gonna get banned. I'm sure some of them, TikTok's probably their only career. That's the only thing they got going for them. For some people, that's probably their only reason for existence. So they probably have much more opinions than someone who's diversified their entire portfolio would. Moving on, though, from the creator's standpoint, I wanted to really deep dive, well, not deep dive, let's not get crazy. This isn't a fucking video essay. Is there any pros to having TikTok around as a consumer? You know, just some regular, average, everyday Joe scrolling through TikTok, watching funny racist memes. I genuinely spent some time thinking about this. Like, I sat down and was like, all right, I'm gonna think of some pros about having TikTok around. I sat there for maybe like 10 minutes. Every single goddamn pro that I thought of was also a con. So if we were to get serious about it, let's think of like mental health awareness, for example. Mental health is something that's taken a huge notice in the last couple of years. Everyone's, you know, pretty aware of mental health, more so than we used to be all those years ago. And I feel like a huge reason for that is because of social media. However, I think mental health awareness can also reach a point where it becomes toxic to see all the time. I mean, from just my experience, there's a lot of jokes on TikTok and other social media platforms that joke about seppukuing yourself. Okay, that was the lamest fucking censor ever, but anyway. Or users will make jokes about, you know, doing bad things to themselves. You know, that's a whole ass rabbit hole on short form content where the algorithm starts to tailor your content to you. They start to switch it up to that type of content. And I just think having that type of content in your view, getting pushed to you every single day, that's toxic. But I think there's a huge difference between having mental health awareness and just having straight shitstorm of mental health content that's not necessarily healthy. And I think short form content specifically has really crossed the line when it comes to content like that. Some people have also mentioned that TikTok's like a creative outlet of sorts, which, I mean, I guess I could see that if you're fucking popping and locking all the time. I could see that. Most times when I'm on TikTok to post my stuff on there or any short form content website, I find that it's either some clip from a random show or streamer, it's some girl posing like this with a wall of text in front of them, or it's just a straight up thirst trap. So I feel like the pro of it being a creative outlet is valid, but also not as valid at the same time. I mean, come on, fellas, you're not looking at that shirtless guy on TikTok flexing his muscles thinking, wow, that looks like Picasso. You're probably thinking more along the lines of, wow, that looks like Picasso. Why am I hard? I'm sure TikTok is a creative outlet to some. I mean, that goes with any social media platform. You have people like me just posting shit storms of content, and then you have real people out there posting great stuff. I think the one pro that TikTok has going for it that's not also a con is the fact that it's entertaining. You gotta take it from the sole fact that it's entertaining. Not the harm that that website could do to you for being on it for hours at a time, but just that it's entertaining. Then yeah, that's a pro, I guess. But then obviously the question comes in, is that really a healthy way to be entertained as a society? I'm getting way too deep for this goddamn video. We're gonna move on. So let's talk about the cons of TikTok, which in my opinion is literally everything about the site. So the obvious con that I already touched on is screen time addiction. It's been a question for a long time of how healthy social media actually is. I mean, if you look at the numbers and the data, people spend an average of 2.5 hours a day on social media in general, which obviously you weigh the scale back and forth. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It's really up to circumstance, I think. I mean, if you're watching, this is gonna be an old meme, a dead meme, but if you're watching Trisha Paytas on the floor crying for like an hour and a half of your day, probably not the best for you. But if you're watching educational content, you know, historical content, or really any content like that, then I feel like maybe potentially it could be productive. But that's a case of circumstance. So the question of is social media good or bad is relatively difficult to answer. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you're watching mind-blowing content on TikTok. You're not seeing any documentaries on social issues. You're not seeing any historical documentaries or really anything of remote education. It's usually memes or, you know, the walls of text or thirst traps or, you know, it's that kind of content. It's probably not beneficial to you at all. I'm starting to sound like one of those motivational channels where he's like telling you you're ruining your life or something. I think the other thing that I don't like about TikTok is the fact that it gives all people a platform. Okay, let's rewind there before I get caught for being a racist. I'm talking in terms of good and bad people. Think about all the predatory behavior you've seen on TikTok. Think about all those pranksters actually being a danger to people on TikTok. TikTok isn't like YouTube where you have to post video after a while and slowly build up your audience. I mean, you can go viral after your very first TikTok, which is crazy to think about. And the only reason I know that is because I did exactly that. I posted one TikTok a long time ago where I had like this whole idea for getting my YouTube out there. I don't want to talk about it. It's cringe and it was a long time ago. But I posted a TikTok and it got 3 fucking million views. 3 million views. My very first one. I had never posted anything before. I had never had any bout with the site. This was my very first time posting on TikTok and it went turbo viral. TikTok is one of those sites where you can really just do whatever you want, to be honest, and they won't really care. I mean, have you seen their goddamn audit system where they see if content is good or bad? The amount of times I've been banned for sexual content, even though I'm not like whipping my dick out on the table or anything, just talking to the camera is crazy. And it gives some really bad people the opportunity to get attention and potentially build an audience if they wanted to. And I think another con of TikTok is the fact that the amount of people that have had insecurities stem from that website is astronomically high. Social media as a whole has been debatably the responsibility for a lot of people's insecurities, a lot of people thinking bad about themselves or thinking that they're ugly. But TikTok specifically, I think, has excelled that exponentially. One of the most common things I see on TikTok is people complaining about their side profile, complaining about a freckle on their face, something that people, regular people like you and I, would never notice in a million years. I think with enough exposure to this content, people start to really wonder, oh my god, am I hideous too? Should I worry about this one dot on the side of my head? Which, funny fact, I actually used to be super insecure about this. This is my little mole right here. I haven't named him yet, but I used to be super insecure about that, and part of that was because of social media. Now I just look in the mirror and all I think is static, but some people might never have that opportunity to not think badly about themselves. And I think social media itself is really a propeller of that type of thinking. And that type of thinking just doesn't stop at looks. The one I'm guilty of the most, I'm sure someone out there is also guilty of it, is feeling like you're not doing enough work. I know there's people out there that want to accomplish great things in life and do amazing things for the human race, or maybe just people in their lives. And we've sort of developed this hustle culture over the last little while, and I find it's very, very toxic to have. It was so toxic that it just fucking crippled my voice right there. I think Andrew Tate is probably part to blame for this whole hustle culture that's been invented over the last few years. But I think it's equally as toxic as the insecurities that people have that stem from TikTok or other short form websites. The last con that I want to touch on, which isn't the last con for the site, I mean, this list is probably tens of thousands of meters long. TikTok has bred some sort of special type of fucking idiot. And this little special type of dumbass here only cares about views or getting as popular as they possibly can. So they will do anything and they will sacrifice everything for just a couple views. Now, this special type of idiot has been around for a very long time, but I think because of TikTok and that short form type of content that's kind of evolved from TikTok's existence, they've really multiplied. Now, again, I mentioned this already, but I really honestly genuinely can't think of a pro that isn't also a con for TikTok. I mean, if you can think of one, please let me know in the comments, because I'd actually be curious. I think this is an interesting topic, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about this whole situation. Do you think TikTok should be banned? Would a TikTok ban ruin your life too? Let me know in the comments, fellas. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.